All right, everybody, welcome back. Today, I'm honored to be joined by the host of Narativ, which is a show on our group of MSW Media podcasts. And I'm so excited to talk to him today. Please welcome Zev Shalev. Zev, how are you?
I'm great. Nice to talk to you, Allison. It's my first time on the Beans. I'm very excited. I'm a rookie.
This is your first time on the Beans, and I'm very excited to have you. And it's great to see your face. And I love your new set. And we're going to be talking about your show, Narativ, in a minute, because coming up today, actually, at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern, live, you do your live Narativ Live show. And then soon after that, it'll be available as a podcast if people want to go and listen to the audio podcast of the live show that happens tonight. They can do that wherever they get their podcasts. But importantly is the topic that you're going to be discussing. And you often have, who are your guests tonight on Narativ?
So tonight we have Steve Hassan, who's the cult expert, the guy who's also very well known for being in the Moonies at the start of his world in an introduction into the cult world. He's going to be on to discuss what the Moonies were doing on January the 6th. And we also have Michael Edison Hayden from the Southern Poverty Law Center, who's going to be bringing in some really interesting information about a Russian intelligence element, which was involved in January the 6th, which is just fascinating. You know, you and I have been talking about Russia for many, many years. Russia's still in the building. Mm-hmm. In this case, they were in the capital. And this is really interesting information, a groundbreaking investigation that looks at who was planning it, the actual people involved in planning it that are proven to be, or at least assumed to be, intelligence assets from Russia, and also the amount of money that they spent to make sure that January 6th happened, not just in the week or two before January the 6th, but in the months leading up to January the 6th.
That is going to be absolutely a fascinating conversation. I know we've spoken to Dr. Hassan before to answer some questions that listeners had about what they can do about, family members in particular that are in the Trump cult. And it is most definitely a cult. And so it's going to be really interesting to get his perspective, especially when you start bringing Russia into the conversation. And I think that, I'm going to be watching, and I think probably the best way to watch is to go to your Twitter account. I just watch right on Twitter live.
That's the best place to watch it. It's at Zev Shalev on Twitter is the best place to get it.
That's right. The Z, I forgot.
The Z and the Z's, they're very troubling.
Yes, they are. Absolutely fascinating. Is any of your regular guest hosts going to be joining you?
No, but they will be back on Friday. We're now 3 nights a week. So we're now Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And the Friday edition always features Greg Oliar and Lincoln's Bible, LB. So it'll be great to be back with them this Friday. Love those two. They're two of my favorite people. So two of yours, I know. So it's great to have to be back with them this Friday.
There's nothing quite like an LB laugh track. I want to bottle it and use it in, I don't know if I ever do a sitcom. It needs to just be
right. If you could, you'd make a fortune.
I know. She's so wonderful. And so smart, too. And her podcast, The World Beneath, is really, really amazing, too. I recommend everybody check that out, too.
Yeah. And Greg Oliar's podcast is fantastic. So the Prevail podcast, which also is part of your big empire. So, which is great.
Small, very small. And interesting, I wanted to ask you about your thoughts, because tomorrow we're going to have Jenny Cohn on. She's an election security expert, but she's really doing a deep dive into what's going on with Bolsonaro and what appears to be a dry run for another coup attempt here in the United States going on in Brazil. And my understanding is Jason Miller's down there, maybe, I don't know, trying to evade child support. But Bannon, and there is currently, like right now, as we speak, an attack on the Capitol in Brazil going on. And it just seems to be a carbon copy of what happened here on January 6th. And I'm wondering, I'd be interested if your guest who's going to talk about Russia's involvement in our insurrection, what their particular involvement, if any, is in what's going on in Brazil.
Well, I'm not surprised to hear it, because there's so many similarities between what happened here in 2016 and what happened with Bolsonaro's election. All the same people were involved, and it's a global network that is trying to destroy democracy. It makes sense that they're trying the same play in different countries. And, we were successful at least getting Trump out of office. I sure hope the Brazilians can get Bolsonaro out of office at some point in the future.
Yeah, and we saw it with Rudy and Eric Prince in Venezuela. And I know that Rudy was kind of lobbying, illegally, by the way, I think it was Brian Benchkowski. Do you remember that guy? He was put in charge of the criminal division at Department of Justice.
Yes, I do remember him.
should have been recused from everything.
Yeah.
But somehow Benchkowski was in there. And I know that Barr either walked by that meeting or walked in and sat down and then got up and left. But he was trying to lobby one of his Venezuelan friends whose house he stays at in Vienna, I guess, where Firtash is. I mean, the network is just absolutely, it's bonkers, Zev.
But it's never the nice people. It's never the good people. It's always the people on the other side of criminality, of breaking the law. They're just not the people, you'd want to take home to your mom. That's for sure. You'd be terrified if any of them came home to see my mom. So, I think that we're learning that these are not good people. They did not follow the rule of law. They're organized criminals a lot of the time, or they're attached to organized criminal elements a lot of the time. And their intentions are not noble. I mean, at the end of the day, they are attacking democracy. They're attacking people's rights. And, we're all going to be in peril because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have some more specific things I want to talk to you about Russia and specific ties to members of Congress here, people that were involved in the insurrection. But I have to take a quick break. Will you stay with me?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Everybody, we'll be right back. Stay with us. Hello, all. It's AG. As you know, I used to have very, very bad sleep issues, and sleep is my favorite thing, so it sucked. I would toss and turn relentlessly all night, and then I would wake up feeling tired, and my bones would be sore. And I thought it was from stress or politics or pandemics, but I took a 2-minute sleep quiz and realized my mattress was made for someone else and not me. So if you want to get the best night's sleep of your life, do what I did and take the online sleep quiz at helixsleep.com/dailybeans. Helix will match your sleep preferences and body type with a mattress that's perfect for you. Whether it's soft, medium, or firm mattresses you love, or if you will need to regulate your body temperature if you sleep hot. We have mattresses for spinal alignment to prevent morning pains, and even a Helix Plus mattress for plus-size sleepers. The quiz matched me with a Helix Midnight because I like a medium firm mattress and I sleep on my side, so it's perfect for me. And now I wake up feeling refreshed and well-rested and energized for the whole day. Helix has over 12,000 five-star reviews and was awarded the #1 best overall mattress pick of 2020 by GQ and Wired magazine. And it's been recommended by multiple leading chiropractors and doctors of sleep medicine as a go-to solution for improving your sleep. They have a 10-year warranty. You get to try it for 100 sleeps, risk-free. They'll pick it up if you don't love it and refund your money, but you will love it. And they have financing options and flexible payments available. And right now, Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/dailybeans. That's Helix, HELIX, sleep.com/dailybeans for up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows. Today's show is also brought to you by WordTune. Did you know in the U.S., businesses waste over $400 billion each year due to bad writing that causes confusion, misses the mark, or takes too long to get to the point? On the flip side, better writing helps businesses win and impress clients and customers. It enhances your brand perception, and it improves internal communication, and it strengthens relationships with critical partners. Better, faster writing means better business, which is why your team needs WordTune for Teams. Going way beyond simple spelling and grammar correction, WordTune is the only AI-powered writing tool that understands not just meaning, but intent, and it offers writing suggestions that can help anyone achieve clear and compelling writing. It's the ultimate writing tool to evaluate your entire team's writing instantly. I love using WordTune. You just highlight any copy you want to revise. It gives you a number of alternative wordings while maintaining the original intent. You can shorten or lengthen sentences and even change the tone. WordTune improves performance and for any project, everything from internal emails to press releases, sales outreach to customer service support, and so much more. You can use WordTune anywhere you're writing online, including Google Docs, Slack, Outlook Web, WhatsApp, wherever you're writing online. You can use the little icon, and you can try WordTune for free at wordtune.com/dailybeans. So if you're looking to elevate your entire team's writing, you can get a discount for the team, your whole team, today at wordtune.com/dailybeans. WordTune improves writing efficiency up to 4 times. And better, faster writing means better business. So start writing with WordTune at wordtune.com/dailybeans. Everybody, welcome back. We are talking to the host of Narativ Live and the Narativ podcast, Zev Shalev. And tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern, you have a very important show. And you're going to be touching on not just the Trump cult movement, but also potential Russian involvement, not just, throwing money at the insurrection, but actually physically being there in the Capitol. And we've heard rumors about this. And I wanted to ask you about what your thoughts were with regards to, we all know, you and I follow the Mueller investigation so closely. And oftentimes it seemed that we would have these direct links between people close to the Trump campaign or chairing the Trump campaign and Russian agents, for example, Konstantin Kilimnik and Manafort. but also these sort of ancillary connections, like all the messaging back and forth between Trump Jr. and WikiLeaks and Roger Stone and WikiLeaks. And I remember distinctly Assange texting Jr. in the lead up to the 2016 election saying, hey, if your dad loses, what you should probably do is just pretend like the whole thing was rigged. And then you could go after, the fake news media. And he put fake news in quotes. And then, build your own media empire from there. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? And then we've got, so Roger Stone, we've got Alex Jones and his connections to the insurrection. Of course, Enrique Tarrio reporting to prison today. And then, of course, we have Russia Ron Johnson, who's been, frankly, very involved. So the signs and signals have all been there, right? But is there some sort of I don't want to say smoke and gun, but a little more connective tissue that you're going to be talking about on the show tonight?
There absolutely is. There's a character who lives out in Connecticut who's for all intents and purposes, he's a Russian agent. Maybe he's a little bit more of an asset, but he's certainly knowingly an asset. He was connected to Alexander Malofeyev, the guy who Putin trusts with helping the Orthodox Church do their thing. But he's also the person who was very involved in making Ukraine happening. The attack on Crimea was ultimately Malofeyev's doing. And so he's the same connection that is connected to what happened with the insurrection through this particular agent that we'll be exposing tonight at 7:00 Eastern regarding this Russian interference in the insurrection, which is really another interference in the 2020 election.
Yeah, it is continuing as part of one giant scheme. And that's what, a lot of people, including myself, are like, what is the Department of Justice doing about this? And I talked specifically to Alexander Vindman recently, who said that, Ukraine, what's going on in Ukraine with Rudy, the Biden interference, the Biden laptop operation, COVID, and the insurrection and the big lie are all one giant scheme, right? This one
Absolutely.
Giant conspiracy. And I said, well, shouldn't we add 2016 into that? Because we can go all the way back. And, people are a little trepidatious to cross to, they're towing that line with including the 2016 interference and conspiracy to interfere in our elections to more recent election interferences. They're kind of seeing it as two separate things. I see it as one thing. Do you see it as one thing?
I see it as one thing, but I also think there's a giant disinformation effort out there to try and convince people that anytime someone says Russia, 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 it's a hoax. So that there's a reason why people are distrusting of the facts, but that's because there's a disinformation effort. And it's a very disturbing one. It's the same reason we have so many people refusing to take vaccines and the deaths we're having. I mean, these have real life consequences, these disinformation efforts, through Russia and other people's efforts. So, it is incredibly concerning, but I do think it is ultimately all one thing. Russia and her allies, his allies, however you want to say it, has so many dishonest and benign interests around the United States. They really want to destroy America. That's their stated interest, is destroying America. And this is how they're doing it. And they've said that too. They've said it, in plain language, that they'll use fake news, they'll use disinformation efforts, they'll use polarization. Those are the things that they'll do to divide America and destroy it.
Yeah, well, their top general in 2014 put together their war book at the GRU and wrote, this is our new thing. This is what we're going to be using: cyber attacks, social media, psychometrics, psychographics, disinformation. Not that disinformation is anything new to Russia, but they were shifting from, their spycraft nuclear thing over to, Cold War, over to this new what I call hot war, but that's a different term for actual war that's going on, but to just this new concept of warfare. And they put it, like you said, in writing in 2014. I read about it in Russian Roulette, which is an excellent book. If anyone hasn't, if you got a bunch of free time and you have some time to pick up a book, I recommend reading Russian Roulette. But to me, it's clearly all linked. And the reason I brought that to, I guess, anyone's attention who's listening is because a lot of people are concerned about statutes of limitations expiring on a lot of these conspiracy crimes. And I think that we've talked, and you've talked about this, we've talked about it, Zev. The statute of limitations clock doesn't start ticking until you stop criming, if the crimes are connected. And that's why I think with the obstruction of justice crimes, which I wish the Department of Justice would pick up, all of Volume 2 of the Mueller report, I think that the statute of limitations isn't up next year. I think that the actual granting of the pardons that were dangled during those obstructions of justice, I guess, are part of the entire scheme. And those didn't happen until, the end of 2020, which gives us till 2025. But if they're trying to put together a massive investigation of the entire scheme to overthrow American democracy, that's going to be a much larger and daunting task than I think any American attorney general has faced in their lifetime in the history of our country. And so I'm guessing that the Department of Justice is going to go after this. You can't divorce it from the investigation part of it, but, in the charging, if there's any charging, I think that they might opt for individual smaller crimes and not the entire conspiracy, because that's just so impossible to prove. Much like with Manafort, they had enough to charge him for conspiracy with handing polling data over to Konstantin Kilimnik. They had enough, and I'm not speculating. That's what Andrew Weissman has told me. But they didn't. They went after the tax crimes. Much easier, and they got a great conviction, and he was going to go to prison. Of course, there was a pardon.
Yeah, we don't have the time, I don't believe, to go after the whole thing. We're just going to run out of time. Democracy's ready. Has a very short runway ahead of it, and we got to do something quickly. And I like you, I'm really despondent about the lack of action by the DOJ, but I do think there is some action on the insurrection. It will be interesting as we peel back this another layer of what went on in the insurrection, whether they will go after some of these Russian elements or these foreign elements like the Moonies as well, that were involved in this as well. And, the Moonies, for all intents and purposes, is a very, is a cult to some people. Other people might view it differently, obviously, as a religion, but it certainly looks and feels like a cult in the way they've structured it. So there's a lot for them to go after in terms of the insurrection. I don't know if they'll go after all these ancillary foreign agent types or these other groupings that were involved. But I certainly agree with you that it's, we don't have a lot of time and we've got to do things quickly to save democracy. So piecemeal makes sense.
Yeah, piecemeal does make sense. And we did learn a lesson from the Mueller investigation that you can go after 26 Russian individuals and entities, and all they're going to do is abuse the court system to try to get our spycraft and methods and sources and stuff during discovery. We learned that lesson. The courts did shut it down. But, go ahead and indict them. But, is it even worth it? We can't. There's no extradition treaty. There's no et cetera. But at least expose it in some sort of a speaking indictment. That would be my preference.
Oh, 100%. I think, look, the rule of law needs to be defended. We may have to bend or break some rules to defend it, to be quite honest. The way we got here was Donald Trump and his crowd really ignoring all the rules. We may need to do some of that in order to get to the finish line. But there is a grave threat to the country right now. We're seeing it in so many ways. We're seeing it in ways that are external to the justice system. But, we really need to act quickly. And the sooner we do things and the more inventively we do things, the better off we'll be. And that includes impeaching people like Kavanaugh, taking some real action to make sure the Supreme Court actually helps us. Is actually a court that people can trust. Those are critical as we head into the next election cycle. Without a Supreme Court that we can all trust, it's going to be a very messy election. There's just no way around it.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be able to impeach him, but there's no reason we shouldn't investigate and indict him if, the evidence is there. But before I let you go, though, Mueller was an institutionalist and he was unwilling to bend any rules to save democracy. I think Merrick Garland is cut from the same cloth. He's an institutionalist. I don't think he will break or bend any rules. I think he's going to go by the book. Although I don't think the hopefully they'll get rid of that stupid Office of Legal Counsel memo, but it doesn't matter anymore because Trump's out of office. But it does matter for future presidents that memo be rescinded or at least a new opinion is written that overrules that old opinion. But that's my concern, is that these are by the book institutionalist, small c conservative dudes.
Yeah.
And even given Lisa Monaco, Kristen Clark, and the rest, Vanita Gupta, I'm not sure that this Department of Justice is going to go big.
I agree with you, sadly. I just feel like the environment is not calling for, the people are not really calling for this, for justice in the way that you'd expect them to. But I think it's also part of the disinformation system. So, Merrick Garland is not the kind of guy who's going to go, knee deep into investigations that he can't close, I don't think. So they're going to be making 100% sure that they can close these. And in many cases, I don't think that there's enough law to prove that their crimes were committed. There's just not a lot of law around what people around the president can do or can do. So, it's very hard to prove ultimately that they were breaking the law.
Well, one thing he can do 100% for fucking certain is to bring charges against Donald Trump for obstruction of justice. At the very least, there's at least 4 beautifully laid out. You don't even have to lift a finger. All of the evidence is there. We're within the statute of limitations. There are at least 4 instances of obstruction of justice. Bring those charges. Unless he's sort of trying to put it together in some larger conspiracy, I don't understand why those charges haven't been brought yet.
Well, and there must be reasons for that include his, past affiliations with various investigations and investigative bodies that probably give him some sort of immunity of some sort.
Yes, that the whole argument that you and I in Lincoln's Bible have talked about, that he's a confidential informant.
Yeah, and if he is, he's probably got some cover, probably, so he's not that worried about it.
Yeah, how come exactly why Carter Page didn't get
exactly why all these people ultimately they're all informants at the end of the day, like Roger Stone and all those. So you're not going to get to a point, I don't think, where it's going to be really easy to indict Donald Trump, but it also might be politically dangerous. If you look at what they're doing around these, the people arrested for the insurrection and the Republicans and MAGAites, whatever you want to call them, saying that these are political prisoners and planning some sort of event on September 18th, which could look a lot like January the 6th. That event happens. You can see how arresting people and arresting or indicting Donald Trump could really inflame the situation.
True, but I am of the belief that the rule of law is the rule of law. We shouldn't make decisions on whether or not to prosecute or bring charges based on how someone might react.
100%. I think that's the line we can't cross, and we appear to be crossing it.
Yeah, and I'm going to be real mad if those announcements come.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Everybody tune in tonight, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time at Zev Shalev on Twitter. You can watch it live on Twitter. And then in a couple of days, you can, if you can't make it tonight, which I really recommend you do, then you can pick it up on the audio podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. It's called Narativ, Narativ. Thanks so much, Zev, for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Allison. Thanks for having me on.